Yemen, the mission there, Alexander Rafet. Welcome back to RT International. Good to see you. 3 strikes on civilians in 3 days. These are supposed to be targeted strikes. In your experience of having been in the country, just how much risk are civilians in right now, this many years into that conflict?
Well, let me start by saying that, of course, the pictures you have just shown are horrific, and I've been very moved by them. In the 2 years that I have been in Yemen, I have seen, unfortunately, quite a few other cases such like this one. And when you have a military operation on the scale which are taking place now in Yemen, these things unfortunately happen. And it is of utmost importance, of course, to document these cases and to bring the observations to the parties which is responsible for them. So this is what we have been doing consistently, collecting information whenever there is a violation or a potential violation, document the case. And you have mentioned that there would be an investigation. If we can feed into that investigation, that is something that we do. So I have no doubt that my colleagues now are following the case. I'm not in Yemen anymore after 2 years that I spent over there, and they are probably documenting the case or collecting information for submission of reports that will hopefully help for the future bring more care in the way operations are conducted. We have been doing this for 2 years I was there, and we are still doing it.
Yeah. Does it feel like an almost impossible task, though? Because you wrote almost a year ago quite passionately about your experience in Taiz, the difficulty of getting into certain places. Just what kind of uphill struggle is there for aid workers once they get to Yemen?
Well, you know, unfortunately, we had a tragedy 3 days ago where one of the staff of the Yemen delegation was killed in Taiz. And today I cannot help but think about him, his family and wife. And this, you know, is a stark reminder that working in Yemen remains extremely difficult. We do it under extremely difficult circumstances. In the case of Taiz, there are extremely tense, hard fighting taking place. And doing this work, documenting the cases, is something that takes a toll, and sometimes takes a toll on the lives of our colleagues.
And in terms of getting that assistance dealing with famine, dealing with diseases like cholera, when there are efforts like the Saudi blockade of the port, how much more difficult does it make getting that much-needed aid into those millions of people?
As you correctly point out, it's wider than a famine. There is a problem with the structural collapse of the system in Yemen. You have problems of water, you have problems of sanitation. We in the International Red Cross, we try to fix those problems, otherwise there would maybe not be any running water and so on anymore. So there is no doubt that what is coming into the country at the moment is not enough, and more should be done. Humanitarian aid is to a large extent allowed in, but the problem is that more is needed to ensure a decent level of life for the population. Otherwise, the country goes downhill. So this is quite clearly something, one of the messages that I've been passing. I've been going around many capitals. Today I'm in Moscow. I was in other capitals before to pass that message that more should be done to ensure that there is enough essential goods for the civilian population today in Sana'a and elsewhere.
And do you feel you're getting heard by these capitals?
For a long time, Yemen used to be not under the spotlight. And at least I feel now that the Yemen conflict is getting the attention it deserves. 1 year ago, the Secretary General of the United Nations rang the alarm bell about the famine. As I told you, we believe this is wider than a famine. This is actually a structural collapse of essential goods and services. So there is more awareness. I think this can be said.
And when it comes to phrases like the United Nations calling it the worst humanitarian crisis in modern history. Now, those people who sit around at the UN, all those nations, it's easy to condemn in words. It's different.